Shannon, from the last drive of the first half through the end, 6 of 7, guys score on them. The other one, you're at 20 and got a chance to just, what did you like from basically the end of the first half to the end of the game about what the offense was able to do?
I mean, we just settled down and started executing. I mean, it wasn't anything, at the beginning of the game, the first drive, we have a good drive going and we have a false start, puts us into a 3rd and long. And so games kind of go that way if you watch college football. Most games are close at halftime. I don't know how much college football that everybody watches, but I sit at the hotel and watch, and most games are close at halftime. Basically, they start at 0-0. Most games start at 0-0. So there's a process of the game takes a lot of different journeys, right? And most games are really close at halftime unless there's just a huge difference in the two opponents. Most conference games there isn't, so halftimes are typically 10-7, 14-10, somewhere around there. And then if one team starts, doing things a certain way better, then it kind of goes from there. The field position was huge. Second half, we played on a short field. That's when games get the way they did. When both teams are driving the whole field, typically the game's going to be like the first half. So I don't know if that answers your question.
With SMU's defense, one kind of weird thing is that they're second to last in the nation in passing yards allowed per game, but also have 12 interceptions. I guess, what does that say about their defense?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, they've played some teams that throw the ball a lot. I think that's part of it. They've been in some shootouts. They've been up in some games. Like the Baylor game, they were up, so Baylor was kind of fighting to get back in the game, which that's going to lead to throwing the ball more, taking more chances and all the rest. But I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, it's odd, but I do think the way that their games have unfolded, it's been kind of shootouts in a way, and other teams are trying to get back in the game. And when you try to get back in the game, it's going to be, you're going to have to throw it to try to score.
And then I was looking at the breakdown of running directions over the last couple of years, and this year you guys are running up between the tackles a little bit more than you have in the last couple seasons. I guess just I asked Mario the same question, but I guess what kind of goes into the decision making on the running strategy, I guess?
I mean, nothing. I mean, we try to put together a plan to attack the defense. When you say running up the middle, you do understand that when you're in the shotgun and even when you hand outside zone, it's going to be a B gap run or A gap run like 90-something% of the time with every team across the nation. Mm-hmm. We do understand that, right? Yeah. And so the amount of times the ball gets outside the tackle when you're a shotgun team everywhere in the nation is not very high. Or do we understand that? Mm-hmm. We do. Okay, so with that being the way it is, we probably ran outside zone half the time Saturday. But where does the ball go? It probably goes B gap or A gap. Why? Well, the ball's getting handed here. The O-line's here. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it has to go all the way around the tackle on outside zone, it's probably not going to happen unless the defense gets out of gap, which they did a couple times. And so I'm 100% good with the ball hitting the A-B gap. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, I don't understand the infatuation of, how do you want me to get the ball outside with the running back? It's a question to me. Yeah. How do you want me to do it?
I'm not the offensive.
You want me to run an option?
Maybe.
Okay, I'll run an option. Carson, that's smart. Genius.
Toss sweep.
You can run a toss sweep from underneath. Yeah, we'll go underneath.
How does that impact the defense, though? What you're saying obviously makes total sense, but
does it?
It does. Okay. But you've got A gap.
I get asked that question a lot. I don't think it makes total sense, to be honest.
I get asked nothing more than this. But like when you have A gap and B gap, how does that impact a defense trying to defend that?
You still got to stretch. So it's where's the A gap go? So I would look at it, if people really want to find the answer and really ask questions, it's where does the A gap go? So if you're running outside zone, the A gap might start where you're at, but it might end up where you're at.
It slides.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're blocking, if you run outside zone, then the O-line's moving to the right. And so yeah, the ball starts right here and the guard starts right here, but the ball might end up where you are. But it's still in the A gap or still in the B gap. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so, but it's moved 6 or 7 yards that way. And so to me, I don't obsess about that nearly as much as y'all do or our fans do. I don't, because ultimately I understand that, like, when you hand the ball off from the shotgun, most of the time it's going to end up in the A or B gap. It don't matter what run scheme you run. We ran pin and pull 6 times sided. It could get outside, but how many times did it? It didn't, because it became a B gap run, because defenses most of the time are going to set the edge to the defense unless they mess up. They messed up a couple times and it spit outside and we got a game. You know, most times it's going to hit in the A or B gap. It doesn't matter what the run game scheme is. You know, counter is going to hit outside sometimes when they wrong shoulder it and the linebacker doesn't fit right. Is that an inside run or an outside run? I'm asking you.
Probably in the eye of the beholder.
Well, counter is an inside run,
Right.
but it ends up outside sometimes when the defense misfits it. You know what I mean? And so it has everything to do with how the defense fits it. Does that make sense? And so you can run outside zone 15 times, which we probably ran it 10 or so times in the game Saturday. It hit outside 1 time. It hit in the B gap most times. It hit in the A gap a handful of times. You know, like duo, you can run duo 10 times. It's probably going to hit in the A gap 6 of those times. It's probably going to spit to the B gap or backside B gap a handful of times. And there's going to be a couple of times where it falls off the table because they misfit it. You know what I mean? So where the ball hits, you know, I can't, the defense dictates that a lot by how they fit. And we use a lot of things to spit the ball on the edge, which creates edges to defenses, right? To me, that's our stretch game, is getting the ball in the flats, which we do approximately 8 to 10 times a game. And so the question about the ball hitting up the middle, I mean, they can keep asking it and y'all can keep asking it, but I'm not gonna change what we're doing. Because what we're doing is how we wanna play football and how really everybody does, you know? And so it's not much different than that, unless you're a quarterback run game team and you run power read or you run option, which we don't run that. I don't run those plays because our quarterbacks are pocket guys, they're throwers. We choose to play offense a different way. Now, if we switched our whole scheme to that, then we could run all those things that you see some people run that have quarterback run game people, but we're not that person.
How much does personnel on the offensive line dictate scheme? You know, obviously if
A lot,
if linemen
no doubt.
can move or can't move, will determine
Yeah,
how.
we're big up front, and so we move people up front. And so the majority of what we do is inside zone run game, right? Some type of inside zone run game. Now, we do run outside zone, you know, probably half the time. It just depends on the game, depends on the structure of the other team's defense. I'm not just gonna run plays and take negative plays either, right? It has to be fit within the game plan and the scheme. But yeah, our identity is we're big, physical, strong people. And so I would say that I was very pleased with the way we ran the ball Saturday. Can we run it better? Absolutely, you know. But I thought Stanford's defense did a good job of keeping everything in front and really not giving up a lot of explosive plays. Even when the ball got out, they were layered well, they got the ball down, so they made us move the ball methodically through the field.
Tony Johnson emerged on Saturday night. What does he bring to the offense?
Great kid, just energy and playmaking ability. You saw it from the first play, and he's a guy that's weathered, you know, a couple games of not getting a lot of reps, and I just thought it was important to get him on the field. I mean, he's been doing great at practice. I have all the trust in the world with the kid to do the right thing, to block. I mean, he's an exceptional player, and I just felt like he needed to be on the field.
Well, for Jordan Lyle, obviously we know how much he's been having to try to get on the field. For him to get a touchdown last game,
Yeah,
what
great.
did that do for him?
Awesome. And that's what, you know, that's what he is. And he can make a guy miss in the hole, and it was in the B gap, or C, it might have been in the C gap. There you go. It was a little wider run, so you can tell everybody that one was a little bit wider. But he did, like, make a guy miss and went and scored, which he has the ability to do that. He's an awesome player, and, you know, he's finally hitting his groove. Feel good.
And with Carson, obviously, I know you said you weren't worried about him bouncing back, but what did you like about what he did last week?
I thought he played a really good, efficient game. I mean, his completion percentage was really high. didn't put the ball in jeopardy. We had 0 turnovers, which is awesome. Our defense gave us a short field a handful of times, which is great. Special teams did the same. But I thought, he made some really, really good throws. He kept drives going. He kept a drive going with his feet, which I think is huge. We need more of that. And he managed the game really, really well. There was things that go unseen to the naked eye of him changing plays and changing points and changing protections that matter, that keep drives going, that take you out of negative plays. Sometimes repoint the run game, which pushes it, it widens the edge a little bit, which I think everybody is very happy to see. And so, but he does a good job of managing the game. He really does. And he was always in control, and I thought he played really, really well.
Not just this Stanford game, but the whole season. Are you pleased with the explosiveness of the offense? Do you feel like there's more meat on the bone?
I think there's more meat on the bone. I mean, at times we show it, With that being said, though, it has a lot to do with what they do. It's no different. I'm not trying to but it has a lot to do with the defense does. It's no different in the run game. I mean, everybody can get infatuated with where the run game goes, but a lot of it has to do with how they fit. We're running outside zone, but hey, if they're going to set the edge and it's going to be a 3 technique there, the ball is probably going to bend back to the A gap. It's just the way it is. Now, if there's an A gap player and an open B gap, it's probably going to be B gap. And if the defensive end doesn't do his job, it's probably going to be a C gap play, right? It's no different than the pass game. I mean, defenses now, over the past 2 or 3 years, have kept the ball in front across the nation more. They've just made a concerted effort to have what we call a shelf to the defense. And so there's certain defenses you go into the game with and you kind of know. I knew going into that game that we probably wasn't going to have a lot of down the field throws. Just by the nature of how they play defense, they're going to keep the ball in front of them. And they switched their coverages up so much where you couldn't catch them in quarters and get a post or something. Because I don't know if you remember the catch that Tony made across the middle in the red zone. Well, in that set, typically they play quarters. So I was thinking that we could get the post on that set, but what did they do? They played single out. So they got good coaches too, and they game plan, and they see that there's certain situations that they're probably going to take the middle of the field away, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with throwing it underneath and spitting it out to the flats, but we do have plays designed to go down the field in every game. And the fact is that sometimes it doesn't go down the field because of what the defense does. And so, no different than a couple games ago, you could argue that, the ball shouldn't have went down the field. Even though it did, it probably should have went to the flat. And so that's our job and Carson's job at quarterback to see that flow of the defense in the back end and spit it down. But it has a lot to do with what they do to be.
Just 2 more questions.
What challenges does the SMU defense present?
I think their D-line is really good. The both edge guys can rush the passer. They get some width. They play hard. The interior guys are heavy-handed, thick. They move. They twist. They don't just stay put. Linebackers have played a lot. People have thrown for a number of yards on them, but I think that's probably because they get tired of running it and getting nothing. You know what I mean? And so they get you in 3rd down and they do a good job of rushing the quarterback. One thing that sticks out to them is they're really good on 3rd and short. We're really efficient in short yardage. I mean, we've been 100% most games. This game we didn't get 1, and we run it up the middle and get it too. That's odd, isn't it? But they're really good on 3rd and short. Oddly good on 3rd and short. So we have to do a good job on 3rd and short to keep drives going.
Similar, just red zone matchup. You guys are good red zone touchdown team.
Yeah.
They're a good defensive red zone touchdown.
They are.
What goes into that?
I think that's the one thing that sticks out to me about their defense. They don't give a lot of points. They might give up some yards, which yards really don't matter. I mean, points are what matters. So, and they'll give up some yards, but don't give up a lot of points. And so I do think that when we get down there, and we've been good through the course of the season, I think that's one stat that we're really good at is red zone touchdowns. Now, we could be elite at it if we, clean up some stuff, obviously. Maybe run it outside a couple times. We'll probably be really good. But ultimately, getting down there when the field gets short, being big and physical up front helps. And I do think that you see down there, because some of the runs that Mark made and scored, right? And they were up the middle, hate to admit, but you know, like a 9 or 10 yard gain, which is amazing that you can run it up the middle and get a 10-yard gain, right? But one of the reasons that the box was weak because of, you know, they have to respect those guys out there. So we create a little bit of space with just the threat of, like, you saw CJ catch the fade ball, like we haven't thrown a lot of them this year, but we've completed most of the ones we've thrown. And so I do think those guys are really good out there making plays when things get tight, and I think we create some space in the middle because of that.
Great, thank you, Coach Dawson.
Appreciate you guys.